Joe. I guess I should assure all of you that the Rhode Island Medical Society is indeed older than I am. Not much, but older. And I think we all have to be reminded this evening that we're here not so much for a book signing to my left, but to celebrate a 200th birthday of a great and honorable and enduring professional society that so many of us feel honored to be part of, namely the Rhode Island. And notice that I'm now pronouncing it properly, Rhode Island Medical Society. Now, what is the society? Well, you ask a citizen of Providence, or let's say a state legislator, what is the Rhode Island Medical Society and what are its purposes? This hypothetical citizen, au courant in the technical affairs of the state might reply, well, I'm aware of the society, and I think it's appropriate that every profession have its own internal organization, its peaceful little assembly. But other than golf tournaments and perhaps a yearly banquet, and certainly the recruitment of new members, I haven't got the foggiest notion what the Rhode Island Medical Society does. If you were to ask a physician, and I hope that physician is a member of the society, if you were to ask that physician the purpose of the society, he or she might be much more assertive, certainly more knowledgeable. He'll know that the society has published a journal for I don't know how many decades, maybe centuries, a journal that is one of the very few state journals, state medical journals, that have survived in this 21st century. And largely because of work of persons such as Joe Friedman, this journal is truly a great publication, worth reading, worth saving, worth thinking about. What else does the society do now? Continuing medical education back into the 19th century, before the advent of the medical school and sophisticated residency training programs in the various hospitals, the sole source of continuing medical education in this state, and indeed in neighboring areas of Massachusetts and Connecticut, the sole only source was our medical society. And to back that up was its wonderful building on Francis Street. The building is still there. Some of you in the room may remember when we occupied that building. It had a magnificent library, some of which now dwells in this room. It had a reading room that was spacious, airy, and I might point out with some sorrow, it served free coffee to all who came to enjoy the various books there. And there was a librarian. Some of you older ones in the room may remember. Her name was Helen DeYoung. Helen was a scholar. Those of us who had not yet learned the rudiments of the English language would depend upon her to correct our grammar in a very, very scholarly manner, school-teacherly perhaps. She helped us with manuscripts and finding sources of information in the very extensive library. But the greatest function of the society, particularly in the 19th century, was the supervision, the disciplinary supervision of the medical profession itself. It was the society that decided who shall practice in this state. It was the society, not the state, but the society which gave out licenses and interviewed candidates and determined whether or not such candidates had fulfilled certain minimum requirements. And the society continued that quasi-legal function until 1897, something over a century ago, when the administrative function became such a labor that we gave that function over to the state, but provided the state with a committee to interview and adjudicate and decide on candidates and whether or not they were worthy to practice the art and science of medicine. That committee also quietly was the disciplinary committee for the practice of medicine. Discipline in terms of behavior, ethical, social, interpersonal, and professional. And one amongst us in the room, Dr. Herbert Rakitansky, has continued that function through decades to make certain that our profession is like Caesar's wife, above reproach. What other functions? Well, the society takes care of the business of medicine, the insurance of medicine, malpractice insurance, etc. And there are a dozen other functions which I won't bore you with, except to mention one, and that is in times of war, the society, beginning with the War of 1812 and right through to World War II and those subsequent conflicts in the decades beyond the 1940s, the society played a very important role in advising the armed services as to which physicians were absolutely necessary for the continuity of medical care in this state, and which physicians were, I wouldn't say superfluous, but certainly not quite as essential. To this day, the society has a function to maintain the profession. It is more than a group to allow its members to play golf on Wednesday afternoons. It has maintained our profession with high standards, wonderfully high standards, for 2 centuries now. And I hope, as possibly the oldest member, the active member of the society, I'm allowed the privilege of praying and hoping that the society will continue and that they will do all the things they have been doing in a world at peace. Thank you.